You look like a whole different person.
You're looking like a...
You're looking like a snack. So, babe, how you think I am with money?
Well, honey, to be honest, I really don't think you're that good with money.
What? Did you just say that to me? Hold on, y'all.
Happy Friday!
What's going on, y'all? It's Nick here and Shalicia with F.O.F Financial Coaching LLC, and we're here today to talk about what else? Money. All right, so the subject of choice today is
pretty much how being offended impacts our decision with money and impacts our financial goals and overall really just our life goals. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you think about when you think about getting offended? Like, I mean, I know I said that earlier. We kind of played around a little bit with it. But if I say you weren't that good with money, how would you feel?
Let me tell you, I would be super offended. Because I'm like, you know me. What? Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Yeah, I would definitely be super offended.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the truth either, right?
Right.
So I can understand why you'd be offended. But what happens when somebody says the truth to you and it offends you? So if somebody called you cheap or frugal, I mean, how would you take that, honey? And really, how would you all take that, right? So comment below. If somebody called you cheap, frugal, or whatever, would that offend you? If somebody said you spend too much money, you bad with money, would that offend you? I mean, it's something that we got to think about. Now, for me personally, I think that at times before, it has definitely made me offended a little bit.
And I think for me too, you let me answer, you just kept going. But yeah, I think me too. Continue.
Okay. And so sometimes, like, if someone says that to you, it can make you want to be like, all right, well, I'm going to show them that I'm going to spend some money. I'm going to show them I got this or I could do that. And so then we start to fall in a trap because we're trying to, I don't want to say impress people, but maybe like prove them wrong or something like that. And so that could be really bad for our financial goals overall. When it comes to getting offended, is really three things that I think about that can help us overcome it and stay on point with our financial goals and obviously with our life goals too. Because I think when we get offended about things, especially when people are direct and are telling us the truth, it can really be problematic. So the first thing you got to ask yourself is, if you ask for advice and somebody tells you something, you got to ask yourself first and foremost, is it the truth, right? If somebody says I'm super cheap, then at one point, like I said, that could offend me a little bit, but that's actually not the truth, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not really super cheap. It's just that the things that I want to buy happen to cost a lot, and so I don't mind saving my money to get what it is that I want. Yeah. So it's a little bit different. So I would say I'm more frugal than I am cheap. So the big thing is that, is it the truth what they're saying? I mean, what are your thoughts on that, honey?
I mean, yeah, I think it's hard to hear things about yourself, especially if they are true. Like, sometimes they are true and we don't want to hear it. And it's like, then we get overly offended. But then, like, if you really take some time and sit with it for a second, oh, well, maybe they are right. Maybe I could bend a little bit, like, I don't know. It's hard to hear the truth. But I would say, before being offended, look at the facts. Like, what are the facts? What is the truth?
Yeah. And I think you touched on something that's very important, and that's to separate how you feel with what's real.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Overall, you got to separate how you feel with what's real, because if something is the truth, and sometimes it is, if you're upset about it, then you can go ahead and make the changes, right? But if it's not the truth and somebody is just saying that, then that goes to the next point that I have is, whoever's telling you this information, are they even credible, right? Are they even a credible person? Like, meaning, like, if they're telling you how to manage money or what you should do with money, do they even handle their money well? Right? If somebody's telling you to get in the gym and you got to work out, you got to do this, you got to do that, but they don't look like they've been to the gym in the last 10 years, is that the person you want to take advice from? And so I think that's what's important. They have to think about, is this person credible? Is what they're saying credible? Are they living that way too? Are they doing what they're telling you to do? I mean, is the advice they're giving come from a good place? I mean, how do you think about that, honey, when it comes to people giving you advice, but you feel like they have no business giving you that advice?
Yeah, for me, when somebody gives advice, I'm just like, okay, and you take it and then you keep it pushing. But I think that goes back to being wise and when to speak up, like when to say something back to somebody
Okay, so when
or
you
not.
say like you take it and you keep it pushing, what you mean by that? Like elaborate on that a little bit.
Like you take their opinion, you listen to it. You don't necessarily have to say you disagree
I got
with
you.
it. Like I probably wouldn't say like, oh, I disagree with you.
Right.
Da, 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 da. Like that ain't me. But but yeah, you take it and then you kind of still do what you want to do.
So to be direct about it, you saying
Yeah.
basically you'll listen to what somebody's saying and be
Yeah.
respectful, but you'll
Right.
just be like, I'm not really doing that. In your mind, you just be like, no, I'm not finna do all that. I mean, it happens with us from time to time.
It
You know what I'm saying?
does.
So I tell you something, you be like, okay, but really, you be like, nah, I'm not finna do that.
Yeah. But that's wisdom, okay? Because then we might save an argument.
That's true.
Or a heated discussion.
That's true. But at the same point, and really to tie it back together, if the person is saying it is not credible, then what's the point of even taking the advice in the first place? What's the point of getting an argument with them?
Yeah.
What's the point of taking it to that level if what they're saying is not helpful, if what they're saying they're not even doing, and what they're saying is just going to spark something that really not helpful to anybody in the situation. So sometimes just saying, oh, okay, and just moving on is the right thing to do. But we just got to look and pay attention to those things. So is that person credible? And then also, is what they said the truth? All right.
Before we get into the next point, I do want to say that sometimes it is okay to speak up. I know I just said like, maybe I don't speak up and say, oh, I disagree.
But that's not really you though. Like typically you're not the one to speak up. That's okay.
I'm not.
But go ahead and make the point that you're about to make, because I think you was about to make a good point. So
I'm about to say that sometimes it is, in which I'm learning, it is okay to speak up. There's a time to be quiet. There's a time to not be quiet, and some things need to be addressed.
Especially when it comes to finances, right? Because sometimes you do have to let people like, hey, you got to back off. Like you can't tell me how I handle my money. I'm not trying to do that to you. So sometimes if it's becoming over excessive, you got like, hey, you got to back off. This is the way I'm doing things, the way my family is doing things. So you might have to tell them you got to back off. They don't know how much money you have or what you're doing or what your goals are. So you got to remember that. But again, it all goes back to, is that person credible? The third point that I want to make here is what they said helpful? All right. That's the big thing too, is what they said helpful. So again, is it truthful? Are they credible? And is what they said actually helpful? So that may take some time to you think about what they said and how it would actually help you or help someone around you. Because again, everybody's giving out financial advice. Like you could even say that about us on this blog. Like, who is this guy? Like he's just saying all this stuff, but I'm trying to be as helpful as I can, although I may not know your situation. The people around you who you surround yourself with, the advice that they're giving is what said was helpful for your financial situation or for your life situation or for your walk with Christ. Whatever it may be, are these things helpful? I mean, what do you think as far as being people saying things that are helpful? Even if they say it in a way you don't like, right, it can still be helpful.
I think it's important to take a step back, and I know sometimes we're quick to respond, even in the beginning of the video. Like it's like when we're offended, when we get offended, sometimes it's easy to snap back real quick before we take some time to think about it. So I would say think about is it helpful before you just lash out or start responding. I mean, I think that's a valid thing to do.
Yep, I think it's a great point, honey. To tie everything together that we've been talking about today, I've been saying this throughout this video, and I want you all to make sure you get this 3 points, right? And these 3 points is what they said truthful? Are they themselves a credible person? And then finally, is what they said helpful? And if you can see those things, then more than likely, don't get offended by what they said. Now, maybe they could work on the way that they said it, but that offense can really cause you to go in a direction that you really didn't need to go in the first place. It can move you from your financial goals or whatever life goals that you have. So when it comes to your finances, you got to be focused. And you got to make sure you know what you're doing, and that if somebody offends you by what they said, then take a step back and think about those 3 points that we talked about today and to see if you really do need to make a change. You have anything, honey?
Nope. Sounds good to me.
All right. Sounds good to me as well. So look, we hope you all like this video. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and that was helpful to you. Remember, don't get offended by what people are saying because it can drag you down. Stay focused on what it is that you are doing, all right? And of course, happy Friday!